biggest stories in 100 years is getting radio silence. They're getting no coverage whatsoever. I don't understand. Maybe you can help me figure this out. Maybe you can help us understand why there's no coverage of this story in the mainstream media. Drop us a comment below. Oddly, this story is being suppressed everywhere. So this week, unbeknownst to almost no one, a shady group of globalist elites, people I didn't even know this group, to be honest with you, who run our monetary system, very quietly rolled out the new way that you will bank and pay for goods. Do you know these guys? We'll get to them in a second. Where you'll buy your meat, your eggs, buy your gas, your petrol. All of these things will now be functionally controlled by this group. This is how you will invest with this new digital currency infrastructure. The only reason we even know about this is thanks to a press release that they put out, issued by this shady group of people. And it happened last week right under our noses during spring break, I guess, when everyone was not really paying attention. So let's go through how crazy this is and what this will lead to. We've been warning about this for a long time on this channel, and you're starting to see a lot of the pieces come into place now. 2 weeks ago, we told you about how the Fed Now program is rolling out, right? That just began. That will wrap up in July, they say. So those pieces are starting to come into place there for central bank digital currency in the United States. We've already seen CBDCs being rolled out in other countries as well. But this is the umbrella CBDC that would go over all of them. So last week, the DCMA announced through a press release the rollout of a new international CBDC. Stay with me here. And I'll try to read this. Sorry, I've still got the flu. So if I take a deep breath, I cough. This is crucial. Here's their press release. I'm going to try to read a dry press release.
I'll read the first part so that you can take a break. Today at the International Monetary Fund Spring Meetings 2023, the Digital Currency Monetary Authority announced their official launch of an international central bank digital currency that strengthens the monetary sovereignty of participating central banks and complies with the recent crypto asset policy recommendations proposed by the IMF. This universal monetary unit, symbolized as ANSI character, it's like a U with an umlaut,
right,
I guess, is legally a monetary commodity, can transact in any legal tender settlement, currency, and functions like a CDBC to enforce. That's all we got.
I love First Love Ya in our chat on YouTube says, yes, everyone say no, 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 hell no, stand up to this. Yeah, absolutely. We need to be able to stand up to this because it's going to get worse here, as I explain. So what the hell? Who is the DCMA? Who are these people?
Is this group, this shady group, also pro-Ukrainian by chance?
Absolutely they are. In fact, Citibank was on a panel. I mean, yes, all of these guys who want to profit massively from an infusion of capital inside of Ukraine, absolutely tied to this, right? I don't know that they're tied to crypto and FTX and all that stuff, but I'm telling you, anybody who's in a Western-aligned government right now absolutely is tied to this, and that's all you need to know right there. So who the hell are these guys, this shady group, the DCMA, that's now working with the IMF to govern all of our financial transactions? Turns out, according to their press release, they're a secretive group of, quote, sovereign states, central banks, commercial and retail banks, and other financial institutions. Is that sufficiently vague for you? We already know the IMF picks winners and losers when it decides who gives its loans to, right? Right? Mm-hmm. I mean, think about how the IMF does this in Africa, right?
Yes.
Can you speak on that a little bit?
Well, what do you mean exactly? Sorry, do you want me to...
I needed water, but you did a whole story on this last year on how the IMF ferrets out different loans, and we covered it here on the show. But sorry for throwing you under the bus. Anyway,
I have to review my notes.
Let me go back to Natalie's story from a year ago. So,
okay.
The International Monetary Fund likes to decide how much money they're going to give out to countries, poor countries in Africa and otherwise, based on your, social credit worthiness, basically. So, you're going to create a new coal-powered plant? sorry, we're not going to give you loans for that. But if you're going to build a solar farm here in Africa, sure, we'll give you loans that will enable your growth in Africa for that. But wait a second. You're asking me to skip our entire industrial revolution? You guys got to do it in Germany and America. You guys got to use fossil fuels to build your economy. Why can't we in Africa do what you guys did? Because we're better than you. And now you need to act like us. So you can only use wind and solar, and then you can get your loans. And then you can be indebted to us for decades to come.
Yeah, you can't deforest up to, 70%. Only Germany can do that.
Right. Go ahead, Philip.
Yeah, well, not to mention not only that, but the IMF is notorious for they give like loans to poorer countries that they know can't afford to pull them back, so that they can basically take control of their government as like they're basically like, you have to do austerity measures because you have to pay us this back. So they use those loans as a de facto, like almost a coup. Like they just that way they can control the government of these other countries.
And when we ran the story, of course, we did the story as it related to Ukraine, right? Because the IMF loans that we were giving to Ukraine, the International Monetary Fund were giving to Ukraine, was basically like, here you go, here's your money, but we control you now. Like we're the money fathers. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, well, I was just going to compare it to The Godfather. It's like they're sitting there like, we're going to give you this money, but we may come calling for a favor.
Yeah.
It's like
our favor.
There's
Our favor will be that we will take over your country. That's the favor that we will need. Yeah. So we already know that the IMF picks winners and losers, and then it decides who it gives loans to. So sovereign governments are behind this. So central banks are behind this. Big banks are behind this. Yes, a group of unelected globalists are behind this. Do we have names? No, we don't, because they're operating in the shadows. As journalist Michael Snyder says, quote, basically, it sounds like a secretive cabal of international banks and national governments is conspiring to push this new currency down our throats. Yes, exactly. And here it is. Here it is. They're calling it the Universal Monetary Unit. And here it is. It's Unicoin. Unicoin. This is what it will look like. Well, it's not going to look like this because it's fake. It doesn't exist, right? It's not an actual physical currency. Like it's not actual gold or silver. It's fake. So, and it will work. Basically, it's been designed to work in tandem with the US dollar, in tandem with the euro, etc. But of course, it has ultimate power. It sits over top of this in this structure. And we'll learn more about how all of these things interconnect in time. But this is just the preliminary rollout of this. So imagine all of these little currencies will now report up to the mothership like a science fiction film. Here's the mothership, and all of these little euros and dollars and whatever other currencies exist out there. Do any other ones exist anymore? They'll all kind of report up to that, and that's how it will that's how it will work. The U.S. and right now, this is exactly how the international CBDC will facilitate these transactions. We don't know yet. I mean, we don't exactly know how they're going to facilitate these transactions. Are they going to use a debit card? Or will it be on your phone? Like, okay, I want to make a purchase. I want to transfer money. I want to buy a house. I want to enroll my kids in tennis lessons or college, or I don't know, buy a Netflix subscription, or what the hell else do people want to buy and enjoy their lives with, right? How's it going to work? We don't know. Will it be on your phone? Probably not. Will you have a plastic debit card? Probably not. No, remember Professor Richard Werner told us how this will work and what this control will do to all of us. Watch.
Also, they never talk about the nature of this CBDC. What is it actually going to look like? They never talk about that. Right. But I heard one European central banker tell me what it's going to look like. He saw it. He was invited to one of the old central banks in Europe that are very much promoting this. And they showed him. And, he's a top, executive director of another central bank in Europe. And there's no reason to believe that he was telling me a story. And it was around this large and would be implanted under your skin. So that is the plan.
Right.
And of course, that has other implications on top of what we've mentioned, on top of the control aspect, because that actually enters your body, in my view, violates human dignity, and can be then used for even in terms of functionality beyond the monetary and economic transaction purposes. So highly dangerous and definitely something we have to oppose. And so using cash is one of the things we can do to make sure that the hurdle will be higher for the central planners to introduce the CBDC.
Now that's the great question, right? Because I'm a big advocate of cash. And so anytime I get a chance to go to the ATM, I do. And I take out the maximum amount that I can every time that I do. And then, store it in different spots and in safes and so forth, and make sure that it's secure.